Welcome to Passage to Profit, everybody. This is Richard Gearhart.
And Elizabeth Gearhart.
Passage to Profit is all about inventions and intellectual property and entrepreneurism. So thanks for joining us today.
We have an amazing, amazing show. We also have our media maven from iHeart, Kenya GIPSON, here. And we have been doing these shows on Zoom during quarantine. And iHeart has been kind enough to take the Zoom audio and put it on iHeartRadio. Big shout out to them. But you know what? Radio isn't all that iHeart does.
Right. They have a huge number of platforms, and Gearhart Law has been using their digital media promotion for a long time now, and it's been super duper effective. Our firm has managed to grow pretty substantially based on the digital media format. So if anybody's thinking about engaging in digital media, definitely check out the iHeart team.
Yeah, talk to Kenya. She can set you up.
And so who's on the show today?
Oh my God. Well, I'm not going to give away the guest just yet. I mean, I know if people see this on video, they'll see him, but I want to talk about what he did a little bit before we say who he is.
Okay.
But we have Eric, who has the wildlife, who brought a snake into the studio when he recorded it in iHeart.
That's right. Our producer ran down to the legal department to make sure that we weren't violating any of New York zoning regulations.
And we have Shanna, who is just doing amazing things with kids and video and psychology and a movement. And we have Stacy, who has a very, very cool product for anybody who works out and sweats at all. Which is the point of working.
Who works out and doesn't sweat, by the way?
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So Richard owns Gearhart Law, and we do patents, trademarks, and copyrights. He's the founder. If you have any questions about anything related to intellectual property at all, you can call him and ask him or email him.
So what is new in the world of intellectual property? What are we going to talk about today for IP in the News?
IP in the News is yours. I'm giving that softball to you.
All right. And so the IP in the News is going to be, the recent Supreme Court decision by Ruth Bader Ginsburg on trademarks. So this case has been floating around the court system for a while, and it's been kind of a question for intellectual property owners. Can the domain name be trademarked? So Booking.com filed a trademark application for the term Booking.com. And there was some degree of controversy over whether you could actually get the trademark on that portion of the word that says .com. And so it turns out now we finally have an answer, and the answer is yes, you can get a trademark on a URL, and the .com stands as a distinguishing feature of the mark. So now it's possible to protect domain names and domain names as trademarks, which really makes a lot of sense because Booking.com and their branding and their advertising has been using Booking.com as their trademark. And so it's been used consistently with the way trademarks are supposed to be used, and the legal system finally gave them credit for being able to do that. So
right, but if they just wanted to do booking, that would be considered generic because that's a term that everybody uses. So the .com helped them get past that, and congratulations, Booking.com. Supreme Court ruled in your favor.
There you go. So what's up next?
So I wanted to just say, we do a patent palooza every once in a while. So this is a true patent palooza. So there is this man in Japan who holds the Guinness Book of World Records as having more patents than any other person in the world.
How many patents does he have?
Worldwide, he has 9,700. 9,000.
All he does is write patents and sign paperwork. That's his whole life, right?
He must have a lot of money.
I mean, I won't say that's misspent time, but that's got to be a lot of time spent just on the paperwork for that.
It's over 40 years. He must have a
okay.
really good patent attorney. He's the president and majority shareholder of research company Semiconductor Energy Lab in Tokyo. And most of the patents he holds are in relation to computer display technology and are held by his firm. So with him, either individually or jointly as an inventor. So, hey, I guess when the bug bites you, it bites hard for some people.
Some people just can't stop inventing. I wonder how many of those products have actually been developed, though. I mean, you know, based on the company, I'm sure that a lot have. But it's kind of funny because lots of times people in the tech sector are very reluctant to file patents. And this guy is obviously on the excessive side of the debate. He probably employs a whole law firm of people to write and prosecute these patents, because not only have you write them up and file them, but you have to get them through the patent office. And I'm sure that's keeping a lot of people really, really busy. So, but great statistic. And
okay. So, hey, if you think you have an idea that's patentable, get started. You may end up with thousands by the time you're done.
All right.
Okay.
So thanks a lot for that. And we need to take a commercial break right now. You're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard Gearhart, and our special, yet to be disclosed guest will be right back after this message.
Okay, welcome back, listeners. So, there was this board game, and it still exists, that I used to play in college, grad school. And I still remember from years ago that there was one clue that our team was supposed to give. And I was the one who was drawing it. So I'm going to have you guess the game as we go through this. And what I drew was a butterfly and a bee, and it was supposed to be a person. So
that was George Foreman.
No.
No?
No. So our guest, do you know?
The guy with the grills, right?
So you can kind of guess that our guest had something to do with this. So as we go on, so nobody guessed it though. And I was playing with a bunch of guys.
I got it.
Got it.
So our guest is Rob. So Rob, who was it?
Muhammad Ali, probably.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a funny commercial now that shows a sloth, like for slowly drawing things. Did they get a license from you to do that? Or I guess it's Mattel now, right? So
It's Mattel. No, it's Pictionary, and some of the words, they're basically public domain.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay.
Just using one of the words is not a problem. Now, if they had said Pictionary, they may have had a different issue, but they just used a word, so no big deal.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, it's Pictionary. Such a fun game. It's like charades, but you're drawing it on paper, kind of.
So where did the idea come from, Rob?
First of all, thank you guys for having me. This is really fun. I enjoy this. This is a different segment, so I like the intellectual property part of this. But Pictionary started not with a big idea. I mean, not all big ideas start with a dream or this big plan. Mine didn't. Mine started basically when my dad got fired from his job.
Oh, no.
I was in college, and I was going to be my father. You know, I was going to be a businessman, and I was going to get a business degree, and I was going to run a company. But about halfway through my sophomore year, he gets fired. And so now all of a sudden, I'm thinking, this guy, my role model, he was the president's company, gets fired. If he can get fired, he's not in control. I wanted to be in control of my future. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny.
Wow.
And so at that moment, I put myself through college, but I said, I'm never going to let anybody have control of me. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start my own business.
You know, that's really a great story. I worked for large corporations up until I was 45. It took me, 25 years in the workforce to finally get that message that, and this is a show about entrepreneurism, and that's one of the things that entrepreneurs get if they do it right. They get to be independent, and they get to have the kind of freedom that you sought, from a very early age. So, and it's amazing that you're able to make it work so well. So,
yeah, and it's all mindset. There's no difference from what you're doing. You still have to go to college, or you still have to get a job. But it's your mindset of what you want to accomplish. And that's what switched for me in that moment, because everything I knew vanished. So I had to reinvent myself, how I wanted to see myself. And that's how I went forward in life until I discovered Pictionary.
How did you come up with the idea for that?
After I graduated, I moved in with 3 buddies. And one day, one of my roommates says, hey, do you want to play a game? We call it charades on paper. Now, I'm 23 years old, just graduated college. I'm thinking, sure. There's an opportunity. But really, the opportunity was just to have fun. I didn't see it as a business. I didn't see this great, oh my gosh, I've seen it. We started playing. We played all night. And guess what? The next night, we played all night again and again and again. So the wheels started turning because I was looking for an opportunity. I think maybe if I can put this fun into a game, then maybe I could have a business here. Maybe there's something here. And that was the genesis. And then I panicked before I got started. We can talk about that as well. Nothing goes smoothly, does it? Right? Wouldn't be any fun. But that was the genesis. That was one of my aha moments that I can make a board game out of this.
But you built this up yourself, right? You built the company and then eventually sold it to a larger company.
Yeah.
And what were the steps that you took to take that concept, which was a new concept, right? And fortunately, it works really well. But what were the steps that you took to kind of grow the business to the point where you could sell it off?
This is an hour show, right? It was 17 years for me to build it to the stage where I sold it to Mattel. So there's a few steps. But once I had the idea, and so I'm thinking to myself, this would make a good board game. But as I say, I kind of panicked because I was still in the mindset of being a waiter. I was waiting tables. I was 23. I told myself I didn't have the skill set. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't have partners. And I could see Pictionary in the store shelf. I could visualize that. But I couldn't quite get my head around all the steps necessary to get there. And so I shut down. I panicked. I just couldn't get out of my head. I overthought everything. So I had to take a little time out, as I call it. I put everything on pause for 2 years. But it was never left my mind. I mean, how many times have you had an idea, you get out of the shower or you're playing baseball, whatever. All of a sudden this beautiful idea comes to your mind and you may even write it down, but then all of a sudden you forget about it, or there's too many steps, or you've got distractions, which there are plenty, and then it just goes away. But some of those ideas, they just kind of stick with you. And this was one of those ideas. So something kept telling me over and over and over to do this. But I was trying to solve a physical problem. Once I got past the mental stage, my physical problem was putting words into the game. I didn't know how to do it. So I had to figure that out, and then I could get moving forward. Guess what? Trivial Pursuit comes along. I remember getting the box, right? I open it up, and I look at this card, and I see the word polar bear written on a card, and that's my aha moment. And I go, oh, that's how you make Pictionary. I put words on cards. I literally went in the backyard the next day with a pad of paper, a pencil, and a dictionary. And again, those were things were right in front of me. I didn't overthink it. The barriers to entry were those 3 small items.
Wow.
I went in the backyard. I opened up the dictionary. And I look at the first word that makes sense to me, and the word is aardvark. Right?
So,
Everybody laughs at it, but it's aardvark.
and you said when you were starting out, you questioned whether you had the skills to run the business. And you did have a dad who was a president at one point. So maybe when you were growing up, you heard a few things. But that's a challenge that most entrepreneurs face, is they have an idea, but getting the skills to actually put it all together and execute on it is an important step. So how did you acquire the skills to build a successful business?
Partners, right? But here's the difference. So one of my superpowers is I know my limitations, right? I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. I acknowledge my shortcomings, and I didn't want to run a business. I didn't really have the skills, but even if I did, I want to sell, market, and promote. So when you know what you're good at, fill in the blanks around you. One of the things about entrepreneurs, a friend of mine works with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I asked her, what is the number one reason entrepreneurs fail? It's not because of lack of money. It's because they think they can do it all. You can't. I can't. And if I tried, it wouldn't have worked. So I needed a graphic artist, and I needed a business partner, somebody to run the business. I'm not a CEO. I'm okay giving that to somebody else.
When you're talking about running the business, you're talking about, things like setting up payroll or setting up bank accounts or, doing routine, finding somebody to manufacture, those kinds of things, right? I mean, there's sorts of different elements to this besides the creative aspect, right?
Absolutely. You need somebody to do all the cross the T's and dot the I's. But if you're going to give somebody a bit of your company, if you're going to have a partner with an equity position, they need to do more than just those physical things. That's okay. They need to share your vision. They have to be excited. They have to share your values moving forward. They have to be proactive and collaborative. This isn't just a matter of finding somebody to set up payroll. You can pay for that. That's easy. But getting a partner that is invested in you, in your business, and what you're trying to accomplish, that's the intangible. That's what you need more than anything else in your partners. And my two partners were exactly that.
If somebody doesn't see your vision, I mean, things are going to go wrong. Like, things are going to struggle all the time. And if you don't have that vision in your mind, you're going to get discouraged. And they're going to go, okay, well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm leaving, because they don't see the end result, right?
Well, all the time. You have to have a little faith. Part is about having a little faith. We've all got great ideas. I had a great idea, but there was many, many times where I'm just scratching my head going, this is too much work, or I don't get it, or the self-doubt started creeping in again. But through it all, every time I thought, you know what? I've got passion for this. I love my product. I love my idea. And I just kept going one foot in front of the other until I was told that I couldn't go any farther. In this case, we kept pushing through.
We can't go any farther right this second, but
we will be back.
We will be back. We're here with Rob Angel from Pictionary fame, and this is Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, also with Kenya Gibson, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Welcome back, listeners. You're listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventors Show on WOR 710, the voice of New York. We are so pleased and excited to have Rob Angel, the founder and inventor of Pictionary, a game I love, with us here today. And Kenya Gibson, our media maven for My Heart, is here, and she has a question.
I do. So your story is very motivating as an entrepreneur myself. And I love the concept of the game, but I want to talk a little bit about how you kind of came up with the name, because it's simple but very clever.
Which really is a great point. Simpler the better. Whether it's your name, your business model, the more complicated we get, the farther away we get from what we're trying to accomplish. The game was named, I'd love to take the credit, but I can't. I have to give it to one of my buddies. One of those nights, I was living with 3 guys in the house when I started playing Pictionary. And actually, to that point, any one of us could have followed through. Any one of us could have done the idea, because there's no new ideas. They're just waiting for somebody to find them, right? That expression, I love that it's going to find the right person. And it found me. Pictionary was named by buddy one night, and there was an old game called Pictionary. Anybody remember that? It's based on the game Balderdash. And so one night he's playing, he goes, hey, this reminds me of an old game I used to play called Pictionary. And he goes, pictures, dictionary, fiction. We'll call it Pictionary. Just like that. That was the name.
That's great. That's great. So you were talking during the break a little bit about a situation you had with collating some cards, and you thought that would be educational for our audience. So tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Have you ever had something go so terribly wrong that you think everything's going to end? I thought for sure the business was over. We had sent out the invitations for the launch. So about 10 days before the launch, we're supposed to have all our cards for the game. So we're doing 1,000 games, 500 cards per game. Well, that's 500,000 game cards. They were supposed to come from the printer, pre-packed for each game. He didn't figure that out. What they came in was 1,000 cards 500 times. So he didn't collate or sort the cards. We'd already sent out the invitations to the party. I mean, it was terrible. We're scratching our heads, we're screaming, we're yelling. But this incredibly negative turned into an incredible positive, because we figured out how to get it done. So our creative juices kicked in. How are we going to hand sort 500,000 game cards? It'd be like I did the math. 9,652 decks of cards, throwing them all in the middle of in a big pile, and then having to pull out each pack of cards. That's the visual of this. So we put up 8-foot tables in my apartment, 170 shoe boxes we got from Nordstrom, and we hand sorted 500,000 game cards in 6 days, 16 hours a day. But here's the upside, right? From this, oh my gosh moment, the world's coming to an end, to, wow, we're creative. We can work around any problem. 2, we've got each other's back. This is that moment where we had to come together and this common enemy and get this job done. We realize in this moment, we're in this for the long haul. We can make anything happen. We've got each other's back. And it was a brilliant moment that solidified our partnership and the trust that we had moving forward. And it was the basis for a lot of the decisions and a lot of the things that we did in the future that may have seemed really terrible, but we know, you know what? We got this. So this huge negative turned into one of the best positives we could have ever hoped for.
So did you see those cards in your sleep at night?
I liken them to a giant Tetris game. I'd fall asleep and I'd see cards just dropping down in my head. I'd get dizzy and oh my goodness. So yeah, no, it was, I'd like to tell you it was all fun and games, pun intended. It was a lot of work, but we got it done.
Well, it's such a great story, and the moral is so important. And if you're working with teams in the life of any business, there's a time when people have to make sacrifices. And right now, during the COVID crisis, there's a lot of relationships and partnerships are being tested because the circumstances are so severe. So when you go through like that, it really shows that you have something, right? And
yeah, you know who you can trust,
right?
It's all about trust,
right?
You trust your family, of course, but do you trust your friends? Do you trust your associates? Do you trust somebody to have your back and your best interest at heart and the business best interest at heart, not theirs? That's when the magic happens. That's when creativity happens. That's when business flourish.
That's right.
Yeah, Richard, you make a very good point about the circumstances that we're all going through right now. And I have a question for Robert. What advice would you give to creatives and entrepreneurs who are, kind of going through the motions with everything going on with COVID, just about using this as a time for reinvention? Because you mentioned reinvention, you mentioned mindset, and I think those are all important things as we all work through this time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're all reinventing, whether it's COVID or not, but this has clearly accelerated the conversation. And so you just have to be adaptive to what's going on, because whether it's COVID or anything else, life is fluid. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be reinvention. There's always going to be this. And so just take a couple of minutes or a couple of days, whatever it takes, and just remind yourself of that, because we're going to have to pivot. And I call it finding your aardvark, based on the book, right? It's finding your aardvark, because we don't really know most of the time what it's going to look like. So I can't just sit here and say, you know what, I'm going to be a game inventor. Didn't work like that for me. I didn't know I was going to be a game inventor. When I wrote down that word aardvark, that was when I became a game inventor. Just by writing one simple word. I still didn't have a plan. I still didn't have a business. I still didn't have this grand dream of creating a game that would sell worldwide. I wrote down one word, but my mind switched. I was a game inventor. And then guess what? I wrote another word, because that's what game inventors do, and another. And I just kept going one foot in front of the other. And at some point, if it didn't work, I'd turn around and go a different direction. Fortunately, it didn't. But I say just take a lot of steps in a lot of different directions, and you'll find what you're looking for. It's kind of like the sommelier, master of wine. I gave this guy once this glass of wine, and I said, tell me what it is. There's only 200 guys in the world that can do this. He smells it. 90 seconds later, he tells me what this glass of wine is. I go, do you know every wine in the world? That's amazing. He goes, of course not. I go, how do you do it? Well, it smells it. He goes, it's not a Cabernet, so I eliminate all the Cabernets. not a Syrah. He eliminates all the Syrahs, Chardonnay, and he just keeps eliminating and eliminating, not to what it is, but he eliminates what it's not to get to what it is. So the more you can eliminate what doesn't work, what doesn't serve you, that doesn't resonate, the sooner and the easier it will be to get to what works for you.
I just was curious how the whole Mattel relationship came to fruition. Were you always intentional to sell the game, or did they approach you? How did that all come forth?
Yeah, with the sale to Mattel, we had it for 16 years, and I was ready to sell. International license was available, and so we had a deal with Mattel. They bought us out, lock, stock, and barrel. But the thing with Mattel was, to the intellectual property, we didn't own any inventory because we'd been licensing from the beginning. We didn't own anything except our IP of the name Pictionary. So that's what they bought. That's what they paid all that money for.
I love that story. Oh my
That's a great IP story.
Well, the trademarks protect the brand. And you say the word Pictionary, and just about anybody who's, partially cogent, right? And probably played it too. And so that is the key. We're going to play Pictionary tonight, or, let's, and that's the keeping that word on the tip of people's tongues.
Right.
Key to
right. We used to say when we played at the house, hey, do you want to come over and draw words on a piece of paper, and then we'll guess them, and then we'll have points, and then we'll try to play a game.
Right.
A little difficult. Why don't we just play Pictionary?
Right.
That's what stuck.
The other thing that's really great about this game is I feel like it's very evergreen and long lasting. So families right now can order it and play it if they're stuck together, right? And it's something fun to do instead of doing homework together. Or you could even play it through Zoom if you wanted to with other people. Right? So I
played more Pictionary in the last 6 months than I have in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I play online all the time. It's great.
Yeah.
So it's available as a board game, but I did see that it's also available online as well, right?
Oh yeah, they've got Pictionary Air. You can get words, but that's the beauty and the simplicity of Pictionary, and that's how we designed it from the beginning. Again, it's not overthinking. It's not getting it too difficult. We wanted you to be able on Christmas morning, you open up the box, and in 2 minutes you're playing.
Absolutely.
And that was it. Keep it simple, and everybody can play.
And the more you're partying and the drunker you get.
I haven't said this in too many interviews, but one of the original rules was you should be drinking when you play, but we thought, it's a family game.
You can drink water or juice or what, it doesn't.
Let me write that one down.
So fascinating, Robert, on your story. We have to take a break, but we'll be right back with our presenters this evening. And thank you for joining us. You're listening to Passage to Profit on WOR 710, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, listeners. You're listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventors Show with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. Special guest, Rob Angel, the inventor of Pictionary. And can you
picture this? We should do a Pictionary version of Passage to Profit.
That would be so much fun.
One of the companies we sued for trademark infringement was Picture This, so don't worry about it.
Get that permission first. We'll probably have to pay them.
We'll do all the legal things right. Don't worry.
So I'm going to update everybody on my project I've had going. As if you've been listening, you know that I started a video directory for small business called Fireside, kind of the Fireside chat model, where I interview people about their businesses and then put them on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and also on my website. And I transcribe everything. And the way I'm explaining it now, which I think people understand best, is I'm trying to make a Wikipedia type of website for small business, but using video and the words too, the transcripts too. And to Rob's point, I'm very fortunate to have a very enthusiastic partner, well, in my husband, of course, but our son is a computer guy and he loves designing websites, and he is going to build me a new website for it because the website I'm using now is not perfect. So we have our CTO.
Yeah.
He
He's doing this on the side, so we're not going to get into too much detail here, so he doesn't get in trouble with his
right. He's doing it all for
employer.
free.
But
he's doing it for free.
He's doing it for free too.
Yeah,
so.
And then also I have people who are interested in helping me do the interviews, because to Rob's point, I've been trying to do it all myself. It's impossible. It's really impossible. So I am getting people coming on the site. I'm getting interviews. He's been improving the website. I'm getting things more formalized. I have to redo my business plan. For those who heard about this before, I started doing interviews with the videographer and having them edited and having them be perfect. And then when COVID hit, I went to Zoom interviews and expanded out from just lawyers to small businesses and expanded. Well, I have somebody from London, England, so everywhere. And I'm doing proof of concept, so it's not what it's going to be at the end right now, the way it is, but I'm just building it as much as I can and trying to get to a point where
Mattel buys it in 15 years. So
really Google maybe. Who knows?
We know somebody who has connections there now.
Oh, we do. Well, it's going to be a while, because it's got to get to a point where it's actually making money before anybody else.
There you go.
So that's my fireside story. So without further ado, I am very excited to introduce our first presenter, Stacy Bloom. She has an incredible product for everybody who works out and everybody who has to look at other people who work out. So welcome, Stacy.
Thank you. So I'm the founder of Noble Titan, patent powered by Elastifuse Technology. Elastifuse Technology, we also reference it as EFT. It's an ingredient brand of sweatband elastic. So it's a really simple concept. So just think about your headband, your wristband. Now take the idea of that sweatband and put it underneath your sports bra or at your waist to hold your underwear up, or your yoga pants or your sweatpants, your pajama pants. And the point is that Elastifuse Technology absorbs sweat, prevents chafing, and maximizes comfort. So we're solving problems you didn't know you had. You know, that elastic is just that old typical elastic just isn't working for you the way Elastifuse Technology could be. So yeah, it's been a journey. I never expected to learn as much as I now know about elastic and elastic companies. When I came up with the idea, I just went to Modell's or Dick's. I bought sweatbands, I cut them open. I had seamstresses sew them onto shorts and yoga pants and sports bras. But sweatbands, as as you would purchase them like that for your head or your wrist, they don't function as a working piece of elastic. The elasticity, the modulus, the shrinkage, like they don't work the way elastic needs to work. So I partnered with the largest elastic companies in the world that I didn't even know existed prior to going down this path. And they re-engineered machines to make sweatband elastic to be a functioning piece of elastic. So it's a new crochet, and it's a fold over, and it's very different actually than everything that's on the market, because they said, you're really going in the opposite direction of what customers are asking for. Everyone wants to talk about wicking away and getting kind of thinner and wispier. You see that in so much of activewear product in the fabrication. A lot of polyspandex that wicks away sweat. And yes, that's great, and it does function in a really great, useful way, but people are still picking up that towel and wiping sweat off their brow or their body. So this sweatband elastic is actually just working in conjunction with the wicking away fabrics.
Well, I was going to say, I love your tagline, no chafes given.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to, I participated in a Brandathon event. It's like a hack for branding. It was a Shark Tank type of competition for ad execs. And in 3 days, we got great taglines, if you go to Noble Titans About Us, the story that you see written there, we had a really excellent team. They actually won. So yeah, they came up with that No Chafes Given. I loved it.
No, it's so cool. So is it primarily is it for men?
Product that we currently have in the marketplace is men's underwear. So Noble Titan, patent powered by Elastifuse technology, is available on walmart.com. So it's $14 for a 2-pack. There's some of the sweatband elastic up there. We are working on all the other categories. So women's yoga pants, women's sports bras. Here's some prototypes that you can see, the sweatband elastic there. Yeah, the sports bra. So my friends that have been wearing some of the prototypes, like, one friend does hot yoga, and she says that her mat was usually wet from the sweat dripping down. But when she wears the sports bra with the Elastifuse technology, her mat's dry, she's more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm a professional sweater. I got to tell you, I sweat profusely when I work out, and I worked with a few athleisure brands, Athleta, and I do some work with Carbon 38. I got to tell you, one of the things that I think is missing in the marketplace is definitely that sweat component. Like, I feel like you were saying, like, a lot of products, like, they just, wig away the sweat, but nothing really absorbs it where it keeps you really dry. And then the other thing that I find very difficult is, like, if you are more of an athletic build, like, there's nothing really out there that super supports people who have more of an athletic build. So I'm, like, not a typical, like, 0 to 8 size person. Like, everybody's, set up very differently. So it's those are the things that I feel like if somebody can hit the nail on the head in that market, I feel like you reach gold, because it's hard to find stuff that fits while I do a lot of HIIT training and a lot of HIIT classes. So it's very high impact. And it's like, you're moving around and then you have to stop and you have to pull your pants. It's just too much. So something high-waisted, sweat absorbent.
I'm writing it down. High-waisted, yeah.
Athletic build, it would be like, whoo, a godsend, because it's so hard to find. I mean, it really is. And I'm not the only one. There's a whole market of me that
I think you're bringing up a great point. Part of getting this product to market was having the right manufacturing partner. And it wasn't just for the ingredient brand of the sweatband elastic, which I did work to perfect first. And then I was just hoping, like, okay, let me show big global athletic companies, here's this great new trim. It's this great new option for elastic. It's going to have all this functionality and performance benefits. Basically, I was kind of told, there was definitely excitement. I definitely had multiple meetings. I definitely went back to global athletic companies multiple times. But ultimately, I think that they needed it proven in the marketplace. So that's when I pivoted to create Noble Titan. But then Noble Titan, that was a different manufacturing partner. That was one of the leading manufacturers of men's underwear who, I could rely on for getting that fit that you're referencing and the fabrication and the body of the garment, right? Because, I was the inventor of this elastic.
Well, if you need a prototype, I will be your prototype.
But we're definitely staying in touch because we have the women's prototypes happening right now. We've been a little delayed during these unprecedented times, but in the next couple of weeks, I do hope to have something, Kenya. So I'd love to send you a sports bra and some yoga pants.
One thing I would suggest looking at is, one, what is your goal? Is your goal to license your technology, or is your goal to create a company around the technology? There's no wrong answer. It's up to you. If your goal is to license, as you said, your job is to prove the market. I would consider focusing on one area, one segment, whether it's women, whether it's men, whether it's athletes, whatever. Hit that hard and prove the market within that. Don't try to be all things to all people. And you're just basically sampling the product. And if that's what you want to do, because you have a technology that you can license, if it's patented, that's the direction I tended to go. That's what we did with Pictionary. I didn't want to spend all the time, energy, and money to print up millions of games. I couldn't afford it. So just look at some segment and run with that and sample the hell out of it, get your testimonials, prove that it works, and then go back to the big companies.
Sounds great.
So how
Yes.
do you have?
How many patents? I actually have 8. So it was explained to me that the patent process, these are design patents. So the way it was explained to me was that just like Levi's was able to trademark the little red tag in a certain place on the pocket, my patents are similar to the placement of the elastic. So, this particular patent shows it underneath the breast for a sports bra. And then other patents show it like at the waist for pants and so on and so forth. So
To Rob's point, if you have the intellectual property, you have something of value you can license.
yes, that was the original plan. And Rob's advice was spot on, makes perfect sense. I did think that I was just going to be able to go straight to the global athletic companies. And there was momentum where it felt like right out of the gate, first year with my patents, boom, like here it is, like take it away. And, I got a lot of pushback over, a 6-month period of, well, we take 4 years and, is there more proof of the concepts in the market? So that's when I switched gears to create the brand. I created the brand with a licensing partner though. So I am licensing Elastifuse technology and Noble Titan. I am not funding the inventory. I'm really fortunate. Pico Manufacturing, they're a leading men's supplier. They're the ones who are helping to get this going in a strong, good way.
So where would you like the company to be in 2 years? What would be your ideal situation?
Well, we are building the Noble Titan brand and we are getting great traction, and Pico Manufacturing is helping to build out all the categories. So we'll see what happens first. We are still in contact with bigger global athletic companies. So I'm not sure which success is going to kind of tilt them into like, okay, yeah, we'll take it too. I'm working on getting it to fitness professionals and celebrity athletes. I do have some testimonials from a Major League Baseball team that loved it. So the men's underwear. So yeah, I just kind of keep going. I'm going to get Kenya. Hopefully we'll have a great testimonial from her once we get her some prototypes.
So thanks a lot, Stacy. Really enjoyed hearing about your project, and you've made fantastic progress.
So are you selling it from your website?
Yeah, if you go to nobletitan.com, the shop page does take you to walmart.com.
Okay.
So the product is selling a 2-pack for $14. So it's a great deal on walmart.com.
Great. Well, thanks for coming, and
thanks for having me.
Good luck.
And absolutely good luck. So you're listening to Passage to Profit. We'll be back with our next presenter right after this. Welcome back, everybody. This is Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. So good to be reaching out to you this evening. And just want to say thank you to our listeners, our loyal listeners who are with us this evening. We have now, speaking of loyal, we have one of our favorite celebrity presenters on Passage to Profit, Eric, the reptile guy. Congratulations, Eric. Thanks for coming again. We love to see you. Tell us what's been going on.
It's been really a pleasure to hear all your stories and inspirational for me because I've had a company now for 15 years and I really can't patent my product because I'm a wildlife educator. So I'm kind of like, I guess I got to patent myself like because I'm like, we go to schools and libraries and teach children about the importance of connecting to nature. And from that experience, I've been doing this since I'm 19. Now I'm 43. So it's been, a long time since I started. And our company, has been doing great. And then before the whole thing happened with COVID, it was really interesting. It was about 3 years ago. I said, you know what? As much as I love this, I really want to take a pause for a few years because I feel like, children need to know the truth about pets and animals because when I do programs I have animals right here, like this snake right here and this frog right here. So I do shows with all these animals and I love them. These are like my kids. Like I love them so much and I've had them for years. And the thing of it is that, you know, kids see me and they're like, yeah, I want to do that too. I want to have my animals and share them, or I want a snake, or I want a frog. And I think it's awesome. And it is awesome. It is awesome to be able to connect with animals. And then there's the other side of it that, you know, the animals can suffer sometimes if you don't do it right, because you have to take care of them, you have to feed them, water them, everything like that. And, you know, I love doing it. And then I realized after doing this for all these years, 3 years ago, that something changed inside of me. I became vegan, and I was on the airplane coming from the Philippines. And I remember I met some yogi, and the yogi said to me, "Oh, what do you do?" I was like, "I'm a reptile guy. I do animal shows." He goes, "Well, if you really love animals so much, are you vegetarian?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, if you love them so much, then why do you eat them?" And I'm like, "Oh."
Oops.
And when he said that, I was like, wow, this changed. It changed something in me. And then I said, all right, I'll try becoming, you know, a vegetarian for a while. And at that point, when I did that, she's just trying to crawl up my neck right now.
This is a first for me. I've not seen this one.
The thing of it is that after that happened, it really started to change me. And I didn't think in terms of like, how am I going to change my business? It was like more of an internal thing. Like I just didn't feel right. And I had an alligator. I brought her back down to Florida, and it's like, you know, I'm going to give her away. And I almost gave all my animals, started bringing my animals to sanctuaries, because I said, you know, I don't know if I can do this anymore, because I have this weird feeling each time I do it that it's not authentic anymore. And it's like, well, what are you going to do to be authentic? And then I actually almost ended up destitute and homeless, literally, because I ended up living in a hotel for like a year and a half. And while I was there, a friend of mine says, "Eric, there's this road that has all these salamanders on it. You should go to the road with all the salamanders." I'm like, heck yeah, let's go. The salamanders are there, and I'm seeing the salamanders. And when I got back to the hostel, to my little hotel room, I was like, I'm going to make a magazine. And I just started like creating this magazine. It's like, people should know about each one of these animals. And it's so important for kids to know and for people to know. And before they all go extinct and before we all go extinct, this is important for people to know. So here it is, Nature Now magazine. And this is the first issue. And I found this another pond, and we found these salamanders there, and we started making this magazine, which is fascinating. So I said, well, how can we bring kids into the magazine? How can you, without just reading it and flipping pages? So I said, there's a company in Quebec that does virtual reality. And I said, well, how about we make it a virtual reality magazine? And then we can, like, the kids can scan codes and see where we are. So literally these little scan codes, kids could get the virtual reality glasses that come with it. And then they put the glasses on, put the phone inside, and they can see exactly where we are by scanning. They can have the glasses and get VR, or they can scan the code and get a video and see exactly where we are in the pond with the salamanders and learn all about the animals. And there's activities in here, ways you can save animals, ways you can live a better life that environmentally friendly to help animals. And also, the other part of this magazine is that on a weekly basis, I go on a live video chat that the kids can ask me questions directly. And it's like, well, Eric, you're going to do that forever? I'm like, well, I'll do it until I die. And so, because it's so much fun and I love it. And so it actually gave me an opportunity to not, to honor the animals that I had in captivity, but also bring kids into nature. So we literally go to the pond live, or to Africa live, or Madagascar live, or wherever country we're in. And we Skype back to schools utilizing the magazine as well.
I wish I had that when I was in school. We just had a textbook. I just think with like kids learning virtually, I know my little nephews were here a couple weeks ago, and they were doing their little Zoom classes, and it's like, you know, being creative and creating ways for kids to learn now is just more, you know, imperative more than ever. So wow, it's very cool what you're doing.
And kids love animals too. Have you started the Kickstarter campaign yet?
Yes, it started a week ago. We're at 30%. So our initial investment would be $10,000, so that way we can get it going, so the way people can see it. This we already did. This we actually already distributed last year. I wanted to see if it was valuable to schools, and the schools, they ate it up. We distributed about 4,000 magazines to different schools that we would go to at, like, in person.
If you want to help with this, I mean, we're not to the end of the segment yet, but it's Nature Now 2030, because there are goals you want to reach by 2030. So if you go to Kickstarter and you type in Nature Space Now Space 2030, you will find this, and the money's going to such a wonderful cause. I love this. So what's 2030 about, Eric?
So 2030 came about a few weeks ago. I was reading a book called Be the Difference. And, you know, all this stuff is great. And I said, you know, with the extinctions, I really want to support that. And how can we support that? And in that book, Be the Difference, it talked about creating a movement. Like, it's nice to have an idea, something to create, but when you create a movement, that's different, because then you can invite people to be part of it and make the changes in their life that would actually really make a difference. And so we said 0 extinctions by the year 2030 was the point that, okay, if we start now, we got 10 years that we can have 0 extinctions from human impacts by 2030. Which, you know, could have potentially avoided something like COVID, because that actually came from an animal called a pangolin, not an aardvark, but but a pangolin. A pangolin, it kind of looks like an aardvark. Actually, it's similar in a way, but it's a pangolin is a creature from Southeast Asia that people eat it, and they wiped them out nearly to extinction. People have eaten them so much that that they've almost wiped them out, and so because of that, that's an example of something that, you know, not really connecting to nature and understanding the creature. So when you understand the creature, then you know, okay, well, it could carry this disease, or maybe we shouldn't eat it, or all these different details, you know.
Eric, have you ever thought of turning your curriculum into a game?
Ken is absolutely right. Gamifying everything right now is what people are doing, whether it's social distancing or washing your hands or anything. You've got to make a game out of it. You've got a great concept, a great idea. And the way people are right now, teachers are starving for ways to engage their students. It's everything this by Zoom teaching is very difficult. So if you can offer them something that is a different way to teach and interactive, gamifying, I think that's a big, big way to go.
We actually do have a game, and it's literally directly on my cell phone, and it's a digital media card. And what it is the kids can go to our card. So there's the card right there. You can see it. And then you scroll up, and then we have Wood Frog quizzes and games directly on this card. But there's all different activities. There's a quiz game where they have like little boxes, that like a guessing game.
Starter campaign. It's nature, space now, space 2030. You know, give what you can. Be part of making the world a better place, and maybe, hopefully, staving off the next pandemic.
But you are listening to Passage to Profit. Thank you for joining us this evening. Eric, great to see you and talk with you again, and thank you for sharing. We'll be right back after this message.
Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventors Show on WOR 710 with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and our special guest, Angel, inventor of Pictionary, and our media maven, Kenya GIPSON. And we are to our final presenter. If you are just tuning in, the podcast comes out tomorrow. We have some excellent content on here. Really great. And it'll be on the YouTube channel too, so you can actually see everybody.
And you can listen to it again if you want to. So if you
I would love to.
As you're listening to the radio and you want to listen to it again, you can on the podcast.
Right. So I am so delighted to introduce Shauna Truffini. She has been working on this project for years. She's been on the show before, and what she is doing is truly amazing. Welcome, Shauna.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's so fun to be back and to hear everybody's stories today. I've taken notes all on my desk right now. Mind is exploding with amazing ideas and insights, so I just love coming on, so thanks.
Yeah, so tell us all about You Are a Gardener.
I wrote this children's book, You Are a Gardener, and it was inspired to empower my daughter, who at 7 was diagnosed with anticipatory anxiety. The message is all uses gardening vocabulary to help kids identify, communicate, and manage their emotions in a positive way through flowers, weeds, and seeds, and pulling your weeds, which is all about talking about your negative feelings and emotions and turning them into positive solutions. So when I wrote the book, it rapidly flourished into an entire platform dedicated to spreading the seeds of social and emotional learning skills for kids. I wrote a curriculum for teachers. I present to students. I created a Pull Your Weeds blog. And just in listening to what Rob was saying, one foot in front of the other, a ton of different directions. Well, this summer and during the last 3 months when my kids were home, we were trying to figure out how we could still connect with teachers and students and contribute bright and positive content. And over the last few years, my children and I have been making a short YouTube video series called Hello Gardeners. It was my daughter's idea when she was 8 years old to help other kids pull their weeds and come up with positive solutions and do fun crafts and all sorts of exciting things. And so as we were here together and I was trying to find some fun activities to keep our kids busy, we came up with our brand new adventure called Camp Hello Gardeners. And so the illustrator of my book is also our videographer, and she was also grounded at home. Her husband's an ER doctor, so she's officially not leaving her house. And we came up with our camp, and what it is, it's a series of pre-recorded videos that feature about 10 fun activities for kids with multiple guest gardeners on each series that are professionals teaching kids new skills, from yoga to qigong to how to make glitter Play-Doh. We have mindfulness activities, sensory activities, and my kids, Anna and Aiden, who are now 9 and 11, every week we're coming up with ideas on fun things we can teach kids, from how to make your own chalk paint, how to make ice paint, how to make your own stress relieving colored bubbles. I mean, we are coming up with all sorts of ideas, and we're putting them all in a 25 to 30 minute video. And each video comes with its own activity sheet so that kids can kind of print it out during the week, and they'll have all the activities that they're going to work with and all the materials they need, which are always common household items. So our goal with everything that we're doing and all the content we're creating is really to try and raise a new generation of emotionally empowered kids, and really getting them to use their voices, really having them comfortable with learning skills and mindfulness activities like meditating and grounding exercises. It's also important. Children need this right now. The stress and anxiety levels in kids and everywhere we are right now is really at an all-time high. So when all of this is going on, and all these steps that we're taking, we're just trying to really get out there and connect with kids.
Absolutely. You're obviously leading the way in that department. It sounds like a lot of great things. So you mentioned pulling weeds.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Flowers are your happy things in our book. Flowers are your joy, your happy place, and weeds are your sad, mad, sad, negative emotions. And as gardeners, it's really important to pull your weeds to make room for your flowers and appreciate your joy. So pulling your weeds is really talking about your negative feelings and emotions with somebody you trust, a parent, a teacher, a babysitter. And by talking about your negative feelings and emotions, you're absolutely coming up with positive solutions, which are really powerful, especially for young kids. So the more problems we're solving in a positive way, the more we're communicating about it, the stronger our roots are going to be. And it'll be, our goal is just to do our part to really brighten the future for this younger generation. I think they're really needing some powerful tools right now.
This whole movement about being authentic and sharing your emotions, it's expanding throughout the universe, throughout society.
Yes.
And the sooner we can get the kids involved, at least to understand, they may or may not get it, but at least the seeds are being planted. So I love that idea.
Well, thanks for using a good analogy too. The seeds are being planted. It's, that's the beautiful thing about what we're doing. Gardening vocabulary is so organic, and the phrases we come up with all the time. I mean, it's just, even though this is geared towards, kids 4 to 12, the message is ageless. We all need to pull our weeds, and we all need to have an arsenal in our toolbox of things that we can really turn to when we're feeling stressed or anxious. So.
You said that your kids looked at a bully and said, well, he's got a lot of weeds. So it really is in the empathy for dealing with difficult people.
Absolutely. Just when I had first started this out, my son was 5, my daughter was 7. It was in response to my daughter's anxiety, but how my 5-year-old son, who was in kindergarten, was using it really proactively, and how he was seeing things really was one of the driving forces on how can I get this into schools, because teachers are so consistent. And one of our early experiences with this, before I even had the book in my hand, we witnessed to a few children on a playground, and one child was just really upset and pushing on people and yelling, and it made my kids uncomfortable. And later on, they kind of said, Mom, we felt bad for that kid. He probably had a lot of weeds, and maybe nobody was helping him pull his weeds. And, it really made me look at it in such a different light, because they're right. We all have weeds. So that empathy piece with our program is everything.
I remember a story of my daughter. She's about 7 years old. She came home crying. I said, "What's wrong, honey? What's wrong?" She goes, "Oh, this girl at school is picking on me, and she's making me feel bad." And I go, "Oh, was she having a bad day?"
Yeah.
My daughter kind of looks at me. She goes, what do you mean? I'm looking for a little support here.
Yeah.
I go, no. Are you a good person? Well, yeah. Are you happy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then it's her problem, not yours.
Absolutely. Actually been looking for a new word for bully because I don't really like it, because I think that those are the kids are kind of getting, lost in the shuffle and a little labeled as something, when I think those are the kids who really need help, who could really use a program like this.
Because the word bully seems to connotate the word bull, right?
Right.
It's this
Right.
big, angry, threatening, and
Right.
and I think if you can reframe what's
Right.
really going on, and let's be realistic, bullies have, their own sets of issues, which is why they're bullies, right? And if you
Absolutely.
find a new term, I think that, I do think that could be helpful.
Yeah. Right.
But I totally agree. If you come up with a generic yet powerful word
Right.
that everybody understands, I
Yeah.
think you got some.
Yeah. That really shows an opportunity to kind of help, empower somebody. I think those are really important things to observe.
So how are you getting the word out about this, Shannon?
Oh man, this thing, it started with this bright special idea that kept us up all night and making these videos, and everything just feels so right. I feel like everything we've done for the last few years is all leading to this Camp Hello Gardeners, which, is just a really special thing for our family. But the kids that are, our campers that have joined are absolutely loving it. And so right now, the marketing piece, has really been, email blast and social media and, word of mouth, and just growing it was a little more challenging than I thought. I just thought, oh, this is going to be wonderful and every parent's going to want to sign up for this. But we did come out in a time where virtual camps all of a sudden just exploded. But ours is different. It's pre-recorded. You can do it anytime, anywhere. You can do it in your living room. You can save it for a rainy day for your kids. You can just enjoy it. It's fun, it's happy, it's uplifting, and it's authentic.
Okay, so how do people find it?
So if you go to my website, which is youareagardener.com, just as it sounds, You Are a Gardener, or on Instagram and Facebook, it's at @youaregardener, hashtag pull your weeds, hashtag Camp Hello Gardeners. You'll be able to find it there. So.
Well, thanks for bringing this inspirational message forward and creating great content for kids that help them learn about themselves in a really unique and approachable way. So thanks so much for being part of that.
So you are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventors Show on WOR 710 iHeartMedia. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It was a fantastic show, wasn't it?
It was amazing. I just love what people are doing. And everybody here is doing it with their hearts.
Yeah.
I felt like everything came out of people's hearts. And I'm going to just go through the presentations we had. So our guest is Rob Angel, the inventor of Pictionary, which has brought so much joy to so many people, honestly. And you can find him at robangel.com. Yeah, we also have Kenya Gibson, our media maven for iHeart, and you can get a hold of her at Kenya Gibson at iHeartMedia.com. If you have questions about maybe getting yourself into some media, doing some advertising with iHeart, she's the one to talk to. Then we had Stacy Bloom, who has this incredible workout product. It's an absorbable elastic waistband that makes you look a whole lot better to everybody else around you and also makes you more comfortable. And she's selling it on Walmart.com. The name of it is Noble Titan. And Eric is doing a Kickstarter campaign called Nature Now 2030. So if you go to Kickstarter, yes, Nature Space Now Space 2030, and he's got a magazine for kids that is interactive with virtual reality and videos. And Nature Now 2030 is a movement to end extinctions of threatened species by 2030. So it's a wonderful thing to contribute to on Kickstarter.
And if you want to get in touch with Eric, he's all over the internet, social media. Just look for Eric, the reptile guy. You won't miss him.
And then finally, we had Shanna Truffini, again, who also is starting a movement, which is also a very important movement. And it's a movement for children to be able to recognize and deal with their feelings in a more positive way and with other kids and the way they're treating them. It's called You Are a Gardener. It's about pulling the weeds of negativity out of your soul. And
Can I work in that she's also a Gearhart Law client?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And can I just say, I have to say, I got a trademark came in today, so I just
Nice.
the last one I was waiting on. So thank you.
Yeah, so you can find her at youareagardener.com. And if you have kids and they're going crazy, you want to go to the site, believe me, because there's a lot of really great stuff for kids on here.
Unfortunately, we're at the end of the show, but as usual, we ask our guests, Kenya and Rob, for parting thoughts. So, Kenya, any words of wisdom for our audience?
I would just say, we're in an era of creative content, and just to kind of piggyback off of what Rob was saying, like marrying that creative content with fun, right, is just a great way to keep people engaged and just give them options for learning. And I think everybody is doing that, even from Eric to Shauna and then Stacy. Like, I love what you're doing in the space in terms of innovating what is the next phase of fitness, breathable, comfortable clothing that actually works. So all those things are like super key, super important. And I just commend everybody for, staying charged up and creative during this time, because there's a great reward on the other side of this for people who are, keeping their hand to the plow. That's for sure.
I agree with Kenya. Thanks for coming. No, I've had to put it, got my own project going on, right? The Game Changer, the book, right? It's on Amazon, Audible. But here's the deal. This wasn't an easy process, even putting the book out, even though I have all this history behind me. And I've got all these things that I've done. This was a brand new project. I started from scratch. I went back to putting one foot in front of the other, trying to learn a new industry. So everybody that's here, that's listening, just keep plugging away, because there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be problems. Just know that there will be. So when things happen, they're not a surprise. Oh, okay, here's another problem. How do I deal with it? Keep moving forward. Nothing goes in a straight line. So keep moving forward. Keep to your vision. Keep to your values. And you'll come out of success on the other end.
I think that was a pretty inspiring message, don't you?
So inspiring.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, I just downloaded your book. I don't know if you can see, but I just downloaded your book on Audible. I love Audible, so that's going to be my next read.
Beautiful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
I could hang with these guys all day, all of them, and just talk about business and movements and everything. It's just been such a wonderful show. I do need to every week say thank you to our producer, Noah Fleischman, because he takes what we do on this Zoom audio and somehow gets it good enough to go on iHeartRadio in New York City and on the podcast. So thank you, Noah. And so don't forget to join us next week, everybody, because I'll tell you, we've been just getting awesome, amazing people every week, and we'll have great people again next week.
And special thanks to our audience, our listeners, and our viewers. We love you. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart on iHeartRadio, WOR 710, the voice of New York.